On the last day of retreat, we read from the writings of old and contemporary masters and some poetry. This tape can be listened to here, but it will not be for sale because the material is copyrighted. The first selections are from Huang Po, a Chinese Zen master who lived over 1,000 years ago, and his sayings and dialogue were recorded by his disciple, who was also the governor of the province where his monastery was built. There are lots of places I've cut out paragraphs or sentences. This is not to present a reading of Huang Po, but to choose those things that speak to what we've been talking about in new words. The word Buddha means literally translated awakened one or awake. The word Dharma means the Buddha's teaching. The Master said to me, "All the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind beside which nothing exists. This mind which is without beginning is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of new or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to forms and so seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking they lose it, for that is using the Buddha to seek for the Buddha, or using mind to grasp mind. Though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. They do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, the Buddha will appear before them. For this mind is Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary things or beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas." If an ordinary man, when he is about to die, could only see the 5 elements of consciousness as void. 5 elements of consciousness are form, feeling, thought, will, consciousness itself. See them as void, empty. The 4 physical elements as not constituting an I. four physical elements are earth, fire, air, and water. That's how they thought of it at the time. Not constituting an I. The real mind as formless and neither coming nor going. His nature is something neither commencing at his birth nor perishing at his death, but as whole and motionless in its very depths. His mind and environmental objects as one. If he could really accomplish this, he would receive enlightenment in a flash. He would no longer be entangled by the triple world. He would be a world transcender. He would be without even the faintest tendency toward rebirth. If he should behold the glorious sight of all the Buddhas coming to welcome him, surrounded by every kind of gorgeous manifestation, he would feel no desire to approach them. If he should behold all sorts of horrific forms surrounding him, he would experience no terror. He would just be himself, oblivious of conceptual thought and one with the Absolute. He would have attained a state of unconditioned being. This, then, is the fundamental principle. Here's a dialogue between teacher and disciple. Questioner. What is the way, and how must it be followed? Wangpo. What sort of thing do you suppose the way to be that you would wish to follow it? Questioner. What instructions have the masters everywhere given for meditation practice and the study of the Dharma? Buddha's teaching. Wangpo. Words used to attract the dull of wit are not to be relied on. Questioner. If those teachings were meant for the dull-witted, I have yet to hear what Dharma has been taught to those of really high capacity. Wangpo. If they're really people of high capacity, where could they find people to follow? If they seek from within themselves, they will find nothing tangible. How much less can they find a Dharma worthy of their attention elsewhere? Do not look for what is called the Dharma by preachers, for what sort of Dharma could that be? Questioner. If that is so, should we not seek for anything at all? Wangpo. By conceding this, you would save yourself a lot of mental effort. Questioner. But in this way, everything would be eliminated. There cannot just be nothing. Wangpo. Who called it nothing? Who was this fellow? You wanted to seek for something. Questioner. Since there's no need to seek, why do you also say that not everything is eliminated? Wangpo. Not to seek is to rest tranquil. Who told you to eliminate anything? Look at the void in front of your eyes, which is the hills and valleys and trees and sky and clouds. That's what the void is. Look at the void in front of your eyes. How can you produce it or eliminate it? Questioner. Do you mean we should not form concepts as human beings normally do? Wangpo, I have not prevented you. But concepts are related to the senses, and when feeling takes place and concepts are formed, wisdom is shut out. Questioner. Then should we avoid any feeling in relation to the teaching? Wangpo, where no feeling arises, who can say you're right? Questioner. Why do you speak as though I was mistaken in all the questions I've asked your reverence? Wangpo, you're a man who doesn't understand what is said to him. What is all this about being mistaken? Questioner, up to now you have refuted everything which has been said. You have done nothing to point out the true Dharma to us. Wangpo, in the true Dharma there is no confusion, but you produce confusion by such questions. What sort of true Dharma can you go seeking for? Questioner, since the confusion arises from my questions, what will your reverence's answer be? Wangpo, observe things as they are and don't pay attention to other people. There are some people just like mad dogs barking at everything that moves, even barking when the wind stirs among the grass and leaves. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and by scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding you will awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost to you even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Absolute meaning literally dependent on nothing, caused by nothing. Ah, it is a jewel beyond price. Some selection from Krishnamurti's writings issued by the Krishnamurti Foundation in India. Krishnamurti, a contemporary sage who died in the 80s. He was 90. This one is from the Star Bulletin, 1932. Star Bulletin was a theosophical publication created for Krishnamurti's message. So he's addressing theosophists. The individual problem is the world problem. If the individual has found happiness, has created order within himself, then he will create order in the world around him. And in helping others to solve their own individual problems, he will help to solve the world problems. You think that in seeking liberation of the self, there is the suggestion of egotism. You think that to be happy is a selfish realization. You think that to be free from all sorrow and strife is a desertion of the world. This is a misconception. Liberation is the very antithesis of the sense of the ego, of I-ness. It is the ultimate realization for all people. And 8 years later, in Ojai, California, I personally feel that the world is myself, and that what I do creates either peace or sorrow in the world that is myself. And so, as long as I do not understand myself, I cannot bring peace to the world. So my immediate concern is myself. Not selfishly, not merely to alter myself in order to gain greater happiness, greater sensations, greater successes. For as long as I do not understand myself, I must live in pain and sorrow and cannot discover an enduring peace and happiness. There's a booklet called Choiceless Awareness, issued by the Foundation in Ojai. This is from a London public talk in 1962. Somebody says, I find it impossible to be aware all the time. Krishnamurti, don't be aware all the time. Just be aware in little bits. Please, there is no being aware all the time. That's a dreadful idea. It's a nightmare. This terrible desire for continuity. Just be aware for 1 minute, for 1 second. And in that 1 second of awareness, you can see the whole universe. That's not a poetic phrase. We see things in a flash, in a single moment. But having seen something, we want to capture, to hold it, to give it continuity. That's not being aware at all. When you say, I must be aware all the time, you've made a problem of it. And then you should really find out why you want to be aware all the time. See the greed it implies, the desire to acquire. And to say, well, I'm aware all the time means nothing. This one is called The Meditative Mind. Selection is from The Flame of Attention. It is immensely important to understand the depth and beauty of meditation. Man has always been asking from timeless time whether there is something beyond all thought, beyond all romantic inventions, beyond all time. He's always been asking, is there something beyond all this suffering, beyond all this chaos, beyond wars, beyond the battle between human beings? Is there something that is immovable, sacred, utterly pure, untouched by any thought, by any experience? This has been the inquiry of serious people from the ancient of days. To find that out, to come upon it, meditation is necessary. Not the repetitive meditation that is utterly meaningless. There's a creative energy which is truly religious when the mind is free from conflict, from all the travail of thought. To come upon that which has no beginning, no end. That is the real depth of meditation and the beauty of it. I'm leaving a long selection out from I Am That by Nisargadatta, not because it isn't good, it's very good, but I have a little trouble with my voice. A selection from Being and Becoming by Vimala Thakur. Vimala Thakur used to travel the world holding retreats and talks, seminars. Now she stays in India. People come to see her, alone and in groups. These are the transcriptions of talks which took place at Dalhousie during the summer of '89. We're talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field without thought creating the knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity or stupefaction. We do not know how to relate to the social structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It's only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever we have touched it with thought, we have manipulated it, we've structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. Me, the knower. Me, the doer. Me, the thinker. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets into touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring back sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It's a marvelous process, what we call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual sexual experience, but you create an experiencer and you get stuck in the experience and its likes and dislikes, its preferences, its prejudices, so forth. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experiencer or an experience, then the limited human-made world cannot corrupt you. You acquire knowledge and you appear as an individual playing the role of a father, a brother, a son, a mother, a child. You are one, appearing as many. There's no identification with the fatherness, the sonness, the daughterness, the sisterness. And you don't tie so many knots inside, but play the roles sanely, completely, with the magnificence of an inner equipoise. Do you see what a marvelous responsibility we as human beings have? When there is no knower and no experiencer, there would be no dogmatism. You don't become dogmatic, insistent, assertive, aggressive. Identification is the source of aggression. Verbal aggression is the beginning of physical violence. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, with concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused in such a callous way. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and the freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these man-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions, I only have thousands. The sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple. No vanity, no pride about your scholarship, your erudition. And your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, for acceptance, for prestige, for acknowledgement, and so forth. Silence is inner freedom from the authority of the past. Silence is freedom from effort and therefore the alternative way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you are dying. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you are dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody, sinner, saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may not. That is what we're afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody. Dying to all the images that we have built up about ourselves as being alone. The way we're tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I'm really grateful that life brings you and me together. Some poems from The Enlightened Heart, an anthology of sacred poetry edited by Stephen Mitchell. This one is by the layman Pang, Chinese, who lived 740 to 808. My daily affairs are quite ordinary, but I'm in total harmony with them. I don't hold on to anything, don't reject anything. Nowhere an obstacle or conflict. Who cares about wealth and honor? even the poorest thing shines. My miraculous power and spiritual activity, drawing water and carrying wood. This Layman Pang is said to have been a very rich man. He threw all of his money from a bridge into the river. He didn't want to give it away because he didn't want to make somebody else unhappy. Nice philosophy. Rumi, an Afghan, 1207 to 1273. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Outside the freezing desert night, this other night inside grows warm, kindling. Let the landscape be covered with thorny crust. We have a soft garden in here. The continents blasted, cities and little towns, everything become a scorched, blackened ball. The news we hear is full of grief for that future. But the real news inside here is there's no news at all. Ryokan, Japanese hermit, 1758 to 1831. First day of spring. The sky is bright blue, the sun huge and warm. Everything is turning green. Carrying my monk's bowl, I walk to the village to beg for my daily meal. The children spot me at the temple gate and happily crowd around, dragging at my arms till I stop. I put my bowl on a white rock, hang my bag on a branch. First we braid grasses and play tug of war. Then we take turns singing and keeping a kickball in the air. I kick the ball and they sing, they kick and I sing. Time is forgotten, the hours fly. People passing by point at me and laugh. Why are you acting like such a fool? I nod my head and don't answer. I could say something, but why? Do you want to know what's in my heart? From the beginning of time, just this, just this. In all 10 directions of the universe, there's only one truth. When we see clearly, the great teachings are the same. What can ever be lost? What can be attained? If we attain something, it was there from the beginning of time. If we lose something, it is hiding somewhere near us. Look, this ball in my pocket. Can you see how priceless it is? Too lazy to be ambitious, I let the world take care of itself. 10 days' worth of rice in my bag, a bundle of twigs by the fireplace, white chatter about delusion and enlightenment. Listening to the night rain on my roof, I sit comfortably with both legs stretched out. Get a towel or something. Thanks. An evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream it seemed as if the truth were in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? A thief has stolen my cushion and mat. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. They say spring has come and the sky is filled with mist. Yet on the mountains, no flowers, only snow. Awakened by the cold, a light snow falls, the sound of wild geese. They also are returning home with hardship and suffering. Standing on a cliff among the pines and oaks, spring has come clothed in mist. Spring has begun, jewels and precious gold everywhere. Please come visit me. The spring birds have all returned and their song drifts from every tree. Let's have another cup of sake. How can we ever lose interest in life? Spring has come. And cherry trees bloom in the mountains. Playing ball with the village children this warm, misty spring day, no one wants it to end. Hand in hand, the children and I pick spring vegetables. What can be more wonderful? The children run to greet me for the first time this spring. How they have grown. The thief left it behind. The moon at the window. Mary Oliver, contemporary poet. White Pine is this book. Title of the poem is Work. How beautiful this morning was Pasture Pond. It had lain in the dark all night, catching the rain on its broad back. All day I work with the linen of words and the pins of punctuation. All day I hang out over a desk, grinding my teeth, staring. Then I sleep. Then I come out of the house even before the sun is up and walk back through the pine woods to Pasture Pond. Someone sent me this poem after Kyle died. It says here, my mother died during the 4th week of class. Oh, 2 weeks before my mother died, Lauren, a participant, gave me this poem written by Mary Oliver. It helped me. This is called In Blackwater Woods. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. Another poem someone sent me by Mary Oliver. Don't know what the book is. It's called Morning Light. Every morning the good news pours through the field, touching every blossom, every stem. And each of them on the instant offers to be part of it. Offers to lift and hold willingly the vast burden of light all day. In my life, I have never seen it to fail. Flower after flower, leaf after pearly leaf, to the acre, to the massy many, is silvered, is flooded. And such voices spangle among it, larks and sparrows. All those small souls are everywhere, tossing the quick wheels of pleasure from their red throats as they hang on, as though on little masts of golden ships, to the tops of the weeds. And that's when I come. That's when I come crying out to the world, oh, give me a corner of it, to lift also, to sing about, to touch with my wild hands. And they do. I'll just do one more. This is from New and Selected Poems, and it's called The Sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun, every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds, or the hills, or the rumpled sea, and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world, like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say, on a morning in early summer at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there's anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? We will end here for today.